I talked to a wishy-washy person just the other day, and I asked, "Hey, were you able to watch The Education?" And they said, "Yes, once. Literally one time." Are you kidding me? Like, if you want to learn any skill set, right, no matter what you're learning, repetition is key. How many times, if you're playing a musical instrument, how many times do you play a scale? Or do you play a part and practice a certain part over and over and over again? If you're in sports, how many times do you drill layups in basketball? Like, there's always this repetition. You know you're wishy-washy if you watch something once and you think you got it. If trading is going to be the answer to potentially financial difficulties, if it's the answer to getting out of a rat race 9 to 5, if it's the answer to spending more time with family, if this answer, how much are you actually willing and committed to put into mastering the skill? It's not I'll just learn it in 2 seconds. That's not what this is. It's a skill set to master. It takes a level of commitment and discipline, to really get it going. Is it worth it? Heck yeah. 100%, right?
So what are the secrets? How do some of the most successful entrepreneurs find the freedom that we all got into business for in the first place? How did they find the time, energy, and resources to launch and scale strong? And how do entrepreneurs like us align our time, money, and energy in a way that will allow us to reach what we set out to achieve? These are the key questions, and this community will give you the answers. Welcome to the Prosperity Movement. Well, I'm glad that we're going to open up this podcast today with this wonderful, devotional from my mom. Inspired me the other day. And so we're on the Prosperity U podcast right now. And we've got this awesome topic. And the topic is no more wishy-washy. All right. No more wishy-washy. We're not going to be wishy-washy. We don't attract wishy-washy. We want nothing to do with wishy-washy. But my mom actually sent me this devotional the other day. We do reading plans together on the Bible app, and she found this, and I found it very, very inspiring. So it says, no more wishy-washy. Too many people are wishy-washy. They pursue their dreams as long as they're getting good breaks. Their commitment to friends and family or in the workplace is based on things going their way. Now, when things get difficult, when it's taking longer than they thought, when they're not getting credit, they get discouraged and slack off. Kind of like Zach when he was late today. I'm just kidding. I was late too. But we've got to hold each other accountable. That I'm going off grid here. You can't give up because it's hard or you're lonely or you're being overlooked. You have to be steadfast. And when you stay committed, God will make things happen that you couldn't make happen. And thank God for his grace for us being late too. But committed people outlast difficulty. Committed people stick with a marriage even though they have the right to walk away. Committed people go the extra mile and do more than they have to. Committed people show up at church when they don't feel like it. And I'll add this, committed traders show up to their calls and or study recordings as outlined in their trading plan and their training, even if the market isn't perfect or if they're not getting the exact result that they want. They know that consistency is king, that if they show up as committed with consistency, that it's not a matter of if, but when. Is there some area you're tempted to give up in? Take the easy way out. Slack off. Listen. God is saying stay committed, stay determined, stay faithful. Committed people see dreams come to pass and reach the fullness of their destiny. A prayer for today. Father, thank you that you have never been wishy-washy with me. I'll go ahead and add that sun comes up at the same time every single day. It's a perfect rhythm that's happening. That is a constant. There's no wishy-washy with that. That happens. That's a blessing for us every day. So, Father, thank you that you have never been wishy-washy in your commitment to love me at all times. Thank you that I have the can-do power to be steadfast when it's hard. Help me to stay committed in all my relationships and in my work, to be someone others can always count on. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. So on that topic, no more wishy-washy. What did that spark in you guys after just like listening to that? Soaking that in. What did that spark in you? And for everybody listening, you can throw that in the chats, but I want to hear from the panelists. What did that spark in you? I feel convicted because I was barbecuing and it got a little out of hand and I was a little bit late and I had that feeling before I started barbecuing that now was probably not the best time to do it, but I wanted to cram in as much as I could for a second and get a whole bunch of
Okay,
stuff done
for
today.
all of my Texas brethren here, we have to clarify, Brian, were you barbecuing or grilling? What were you making?
What do you call barbecue over there, Texas
Barbecue
brethren?
requires barbecue sauce. All right. Anything else is grilling.
Okay, I was grilling.
It's
We
a
grilled.
thing to differentiate. Like chili doesn't come with beans type of thing. I personally like chili with beans. It's still chili. They're wrong on that one, right? But as far as what you were saying, that devotional, that was stellar. The first thing that pops in my mind with that is the idea of desire versus ambition. And I think it's safe to say everybody has roughly the same desire when it comes, if we're talking about trading, I want to make more money, or I want an easier, simpler, faster, more efficient, more effective system for income, right?
Hmm.
Everyone has that desire. But the truth of the matter is, not everyone is going to be the person who learns how to trade or any other skill set because they don't have the ambition to do what's necessary in the process, right? So when it does get hard, or when there's peaks and valleys in everything in life, right? And people who give up during the valleys are the ones that don't succeed. They're the ones that have mediocrity, or maybe even call it average, right? And so to learn a new skill set, to learn anything, to be better, to self improve, to love your wife more, your husband more, all these, anything that you can bring into it, there has to be some sort of foundational ambition or passion, or a fueling source of purpose as to why the improvement is going to happen. Otherwise, it's just a desire, it's just a dream, right? But no one has ever said that dreams can't become goals and become reality. Of course, unless it's fictitious. Like Travis wants to be 6 foot tall one day. That's a dream, right? But it's not a goal. Not going to happen. And so, again, the foundational piece I'm trying to say is that there are going to have to be changes in behavior, changes in habits, changes in perspective, and just in process in general, for things to be seen to fruition. Because the truth of life is that there's peaks and there are valleys, there are ups, there are downs, there are good days, there's bad days, and you've got to be resilient through the bad ones. And that is, of course, I think of is it Romans chapter 5, when they're talking about having hope and celebrating the downfall, celebrating the afflictions, because they create the character that creates hope, that creates the ability to push through, right?
Hmm.
And that's what I heard in your devotional, is basically the difference between desire and ambition. Everybody
Hmm.
wants.
That's great. Yeah.
Consistency.
Yeah, I
What did
love
it do
that.
for you, Zach? What did it do for you?
I think, um, it's kind of interesting, how few people are committed to almost anything nowadays. It used to be people were committed and loyal to like a company they worked for, and they'd stay there for 30 years. And nowadays it's recommended by career professionals, like, hey, you should leave every 5 years because you make more money getting a higher raise at a new place. And I feel like as our attention spans decrease, our commitment level follows suit. Um, and so it's just what a different world it is now compared to before. And it's an interesting. I just think that's an interesting observation. How do you become committed? Would be kind of a follow-up question. And I think the biggest thing there is inspiration.
Hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
there's a difference between being motivated versus being inspired. And motivation will give you very short-term results versus inspiration. Like if you're thinking about things that would inspire me, would be like my family, right? My kids, my friends, um, other folks, obviously scripture. Like those are things that inspire me to action, versus motivation would be like somebody just saying, you got this, let's go. Like that. That's like a hypey motivation that doesn't last forever. It's good. It's good to get the engine running, sure, but it's not going to last forever. The inspiration is really what drives commitment, I think. And only other thing I can think of for somebody to not be wishy-washy is also have accountability partners. You know, if you have a goal in trading, right, or in anything, you should have someone there to hold you accountable to that goal. Um,
Yeah, we're fickle. People are fickle.
yeah,
It's super easy to do the easy things and to in the process make those small failures, right? You have an accountability partner, it changes the dynamic. Just if even if it's not a single person, but a group of people, your family, you tell everybody, hey, I'm gonna go on this weight loss journey, I'm gonna start going to the gym. It's to save face and not be the failure, people tend to go through with it anyways, just from having announced that they're going to do something, right? There's a social aspect of following through with your word that helps you in the accountability aspect, right? But if you have somebody specifically aligned in mission, vision, and values with you to accomplish something, then that fundamentally functions the same way. So yeah,
mm,
100%. I agree with you. Accountability partner or accountability group or system of some sort. When the accountability is not solely on you, my
yeah,
gosh, how much more inspired or
yeah,
motivated you are to be disciplined in the process.
You know what? I just feel like I want to read Romans 5 because you brought it up. I won't read the whole thing, but I'll read it through to 1 to 6 here. Therefore, since we have been justified by faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ. Through him, we have also obtained access by faith into this grace in which we stand, and we rejoice in hope of the glory of God. Not only that, but we rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and that endurance produces character, and character produces hope, and hope does not put us to shame because God's love has been poured into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given unto us. Like, woo, woo. I just want to repeat this one part. Like, not only that, but we rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope, and hope does not put us to shame, but God's love has been poured into our hearts. Whew.
yeah, yeah. Being grateful for the challenges, it's a huge superpower. I'll tell you what.
That just, I'm sorry interrupting you
You're
here.
good.
That produces hope is the ending of that expression, right?
Mhm.
Which I believe transitions over into Isaiah 40:31. For those who hope in the Lord shall renew their strength and soar on wings like eagles, right? The eagle is a symbol of success and highness and prosperity. Literally, it's a prosperity symbol, right? So when we rejoice in our suffering, in other words, don't give up and continue to produce our character and longevity and everything else that Romans 5 said, that then goes into translate into Isaiah, which is for those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength and have be prosperous. It's not that you will just get it because you're a good person. It's that you are resilient and did the things that are necessary over time.
Mm,
There's no conspiracy theory here when it comes to um, input, output, cause, and effect. I don't know why people say that if you have a calorie deficit and an exercise regime that you won't lose weight. For some people, that's except for very, very minor people with heavy medical conditions, it is unanimous, it's normal. A calorie deficit with an exercise regime will get you into better shape, you'll lose weight, etc., right? And the same thing when you focus on when you're focused on some skill set to develop over time, it's the ups and the downs and the real world experience that will develop into a that will come to fruition for you, right? So if it comes to trading, not giving up and continuing to go forward and make those small gains every single day. As far as I learned a little bit more, I learned my lesson. I've developed my discipline. I found something that inspires me. I'm not just trying to motivate myself every day. Everything that we're talking about, if you go through it long term, big picture, there's no conspiracy. Eventually, things pan out as long as you're making the proper forward movements, steps in the right
Or
direction,
doing
right?
what's outlined for you. Like when I'm watching guys like Dave Wimbush and I'm watching guys like Shane and Guy and all of these guys that show up on a day-to-day basis and they're doing what their coach told them to do. They're doing it. Dave, I think, was the first one to go through and do absolutely everything outlined that James outlined and said, this is what you want to do. This is what you want to get to. And now that boy is doing like 10, 20% a day. Like, it's insane. He did 20% yesterday. He jumped on calls with James. He didn't do those alone, but he's building that consistency, and like the Todds produce every single morning for this guy. What is that? The time of day trade. 7:30 a.m. every day. He knows what he's looking for. He knows what he sets his pending order. He sets it up. He's got it today, and I was able to pull that 20 from that this morning too. Big consistency with that boy. Like these guys that are showing up like that, and they're doing it day in, day out. They've gone through the education. They've just been consistent with it. They're getting to that point where I'm excited to see what this group is going to be doing in a year from now. But also, watching the new people come through and follow suit so quickly nowadays is amazing.
Well, and guys like Dave and Guy and Shane and Matt and all these guys, like they're wonderful examples of commitment, of being committed, right? We also know of some examples of people being wishy-washy. And it's a night and day difference. It is such a drastic difference. It's so interesting. I talked to a wishy-washy person just the other day, and I asked, "Hey, what were you able to watch the education?" And they said yes. And I said, "How many times?" Once, literally one time. Are you kidding me? Like if you want to learn any skill set at all, I don't know. Let's say learning a new language. Okay, I have this app. I've been learning Italian. I know Spanish already, so I wanted to expand and learn Italian. How many times do I say the same word over and over again? And this app just keeps telling me to say the same phrases over and over again to drill it into my head, right? No matter what you're learning, repetition is key. How many times, if you're playing a musical instrument, how many times do you play a scale? Or do you play a part and practice a certain part over and over and over again? If you're in sports, how many times do you drill layups in basketball? Right? Like there's always this part, this repetition. And you're wishy-washy if you watch something once and you think you got it. You don't.
We were even just having this conversation this morning, and I had asked I asked Donovan this morning. I says, like, how many times have you read this book? I asked you guys, like, these books that we're reading that have completely changed our lives. Like, how many times did you read them? Okay, well, I've heard 3 or 4 on some. I heard 6 on some. You're rereading those because you just know that by me going through this and really honing in on this and making it a part of like almost as natural as breathing, that those habits will pay off. They'll pay dividends. Yeah, I remember
Go ahead. I was going to say, if I were to ask Dave how many times he's watched the videos, I guarantee you it's a lot. A lot of times.
Dave goes to sleep with the videos playing in the background for his white noise.
Yeah.
And why wouldn't you, right? If trading is going to be the answer to potentially financial difficulties, if it's the answer to getting out of a rat race 9 to 5, if it's the answer to spending more time with family, if this answer, how much are you actually willing and committed to put into mastering the skill? It's not a I'll just learn it in 2 seconds. That's not what this is. It's a skill set to master. It takes a level of commitment and discipline, to really get it going. Is it worth it? Heck yeah. 100%, right? But you can't be wishy-washy.
Now, does that mean that you're not supposed to have grace with yourself a little bit here and there?
Sure.
What does that look like if we're being real though? Because I know we say practice makes perfect and all those things, but the consistency part, because even again today, I'm a little convicted. I did my best to cram a whole bunch of things, including cooking a big bunch of food, because I'm thinking, yeah, I was barbecuing. Actually, sorry, bro, I was grilling. I didn't use any barbecue sauce, so so I was grilling. grilling, and then I just knew, oh man, and I feel that like I feel like, okay, we were supposed to be here at this time. We actually have people that show up on this call. We were both, you and I, Zach, we were both a little late.
Mhm.
And so what does that look like in the process of like from a consistency standpoint? I mean, we show up every week. I don't think, when's the last time we didn't have a podcast? And what are some of the reasons that we don't?
Yeah, the only reasons is usually scheduling. But scheduling we know of ahead of time, right?
Yeah.
Um,
But a lot of times it'll be
or we have
holidays.
or
Holidays are usually
holidays,
the
or
only
we have like
reasons.
another event later the same day, so we don't want to like demand too much time from people, so we'll just do one
Right.
event.
Right. Yeah. There are unique moments, but for the most part, this happens every week at this time.
Yeah,
Every single week. So there is a sense of still consistency there. But like let's talk about the grace part, because again, you're gonna make mistakes
yeah.
through this. You'll be off timing, whatever, like all that kind of stuff. Like what does that look like? How what does a
Well,
person have to exude in that process?
going back on what you said earlier about practice makes perfect, I want to get rid of that antage altogether. That's a false belief. There's no such thing as perfect,
Hmm.
but
I agree.
practice makes progress,
I
right? That's
agree.
kind of the idea. And almost always, I refer to trading as like going to the gym because it's like a perfect metaphor, right? Or
Yeah.
is it analogy?
Analogy.
But analogy, it just fits it so perfect. So when it comes to having grace and such, here's a truth of the matter is that you can't. There is a plateau of which going to the gym doesn't produce any extra results, right? If you go to the gym for 10 hours a day every day, that's not actually helping you in that process. The body does require rest, right? The body requires that there be breaks in between. And I mean, realistically, anything more than a couple hours going to the gym for 99% of people is way overkill. And you reach this plateau where you're not actually gaining what you're trying to gain. And so with trading, learning this skill set, yeah, one, you're not going to be perfect in it at all. No one is. And so there should be a room for error, room for grace, room for forgiveness for things that were mistakes that you learn from and grow from, right? And give yourself time to rest in between as well. Trying to learn how to trade 8 hours a day, 5 days a week is probably not as productive as you may think because we're so used to the idea of when I go to work, I clock in and I get paid. There's a tangible result that happens. Like there's an outcome that happens from that. When you do the same thing for 8 hours a day trying to learn a new skill set, it doesn't necessarily translate in the same way, right? Like you're not getting the exact pound for pound difference there, right? It's all about that consistency. Okay, you're not going to be 100% perfect with that consistency, but as consistent as you can get on a regimen and a planned and managed approach, the better, more efficient, more effective your gains and growth and progress will be. So practice makes progress, not perfect. And if we think we're going to be perfect in the process, we're fooling ourselves, right? And so when we are a little bit late, of course, life happens. Of course, little things can come up. And to be able to be okay with those things is the idea of being able to walk away like a legend. And Brian, you say that pretty well. Walking away like a legend, what does that mean?
Walking away like a legend. I think it depends in contextually what what we're like. Can you give me an example of like a scenario
So
of walking away like a legend?
if you have a rough trading day,
Yeah, like there is a point where I think, so I want to be careful with this one because some of the greatest of the greats push through this barrier, but I think it's finding that place of where like you're going to see impact and progress. Like you utilize the word progress, which I love because again, I don't believe in perfection either. It is a constant progress. Uh, but if you're hitting this wall where it's like that's it, like especially when you're dealing with, I think, trading money and you, like for example, you've got, the program says there's three trades and I'm playing within my rules. And my rules say that once this happens, I've got to hightail it and that's it. That's all. I'm not going to involve emotion. I'm not going to involve any of that. I am following my integrity of like the consistency of what this plan is. There is your walk away moment, like a legend, because hey, I'm following it as part of my process. This is allotted. This is part of it. I'm going to be consistent in this. That's my commitment. Boom, I'm walking away. That is walking away like a legend. That is now, here's the thing. Now I can go back and I can learn from what happened and I can soak it in. I can go over it with my coach. That's legendary, is when you're also now bringing in and you're processing through what happened and you're learning from what happened. There's other examples where I would say it could be a little different. And I'll give you an example of this. When I was learning how to play guitar growing up, and this might be something that you can transfer over to demo. Okay. If you were on demo, this is a little different. But while I was learning how to play guitar, I was such a like focused dude on like getting that part, and I would get frustrated at that one part that says this could never get it. But I can't say I could never get it. I pushed until I got it. Right. So it was like I pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. So I think there's certain aspects of that. Like you'll look at guys like Michael Jordan, and he would do the same thing, right? Like how many times did he fail before he got it? And he pushed through that failure to get it, right? But then on game day, it was game day, and it was like there was a certain set of things that you followed, certain set of things, right? So I guess it depends on the context of the scenario. In trading, if I'm in live, there's legendary is walking away after a certain series of events occurs, and you're doing it with poise. That's legendary.
I mean, even
wishy-washy and walking away.
Can you be wishy-washy and walking away? Well, I think you can be wishy-washy and walking away if you walk away and quit and you're done, and then you come back 6 months later, and I've seen that. Like watching everybody else get success, and then I'm going to come back, and then I leave again, and then man, there are a handful of people that I see, and I'm just waiting to see them every 3 to 6 months because they're witnessing and they see other people winning, and then it's like, oh well, let me re-engage now because I see all these people doing so good. Obviously, it works, and then it's like somewhere you have to have this inner belief in yourself where it's just like.
I always like when it comes to making a mistake, whether it's with trading or anything, and giving yourself a little grace. I was just talking about this actually in Blair's group the other night. So Leslie was there. He'll know what I'm talking about. But one of my favorite sayings, and it's my favorite saying because I heard I used to be an engineer, and the company I was an engineer for, I heard the COO say this to some high up corporate guys for one of our clients, and I was there with the client corporate guys, and the COO of our company was on the phone. Okay, and the problem was there was a big mistake that happened. Wasn't my fault, I promise. It was actually the software's fault. But so there's a big mistake that happened, which cost a nice chunk of change to the company. Some things broke. Okay, so they were pissed. So they called the COO of the company. His name is Mike. And Mike was like, okay, here's some solutions to prevent this from happening again, blah, 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 blah. And they were like, well, we want to know who put this in the software. And I'll never forget this because they were so mad that he said this, but it worked. Mike was like, hey, listen, let's not cry over spilled milk. And then he's like, here's our solutions. And he just stuck with it. Of course, they were like, okay. And then when they hung up, they were swearing up a storm. And I can't believe he said that to us. But the saying is very, very applicable. Let's not cry over spilled milk. You're allowed to cry over spilled milk for 5 seconds. That's all you got. Okay, so that's my rule. So I got 5 seconds where I'm allowed to somewhat beat myself up, and then I'm done. Boom. Milk has been spilled. Not changing that. All I can change is what I'm doing now.
Can't change what's been done, but you can change what's moving forward. Yeah.
When I was in like maybe 4th grade or so, I got in trouble for going up the slide. But the problem with it, because you're supposed to only go down the slide. The problem with it is it wasn't me. It literally was a different kid that I went down. He came up past me, And I told him, like, you're not supposed to be going up the slide. I was like a rule follower, right? And I get to the bottom, and the teacher comes and she grabs me and she goes, "You can't go up the slide." And I was like, "It wasn't me." And she goes, "I saw you do it." And she was convicted that it was like, she knows it was me. She was an eyewitness, right? And I, obviously I was denying it because it wasn't true. I learned a very valuable lesson right there of extreme ownership, because as I was trying to convince her, I finally just said, "You know what? I'm sorry." She goes, "Huh. Wow, it's okay. Just don't do it again." And then I didn't have to do the 15-minute penalty like we normally had to do. And so I realized, oh, extreme ownership is like really a good thing. And then I
But
brought it
that
home
wasn't
with me.
even you, though, bro.
It wasn't me, but hear me out. But like when I went home, I learned this too. I used to get on the counters all the time, and it was, how short I am, so I got to jump up on the counter to grab a glass.
It's
And
still like that today. No, just kidding.
so I would knock some things over on accident, and I broke like so many plates and glassware and such, right? And so I remember I broke a plate, and I was like, okay, extreme ownership's going to get me what I want. So I picked everything up, and I went to my mom and I said, I broke another plate because I got up on the counter. And of course she was mad, but she goes, "I'm really happy that you were grown up and you told me," right? And I just started using this rule of thumb pretty much everywhere. Now it doesn't extrapolate. Like if you get blamed for murder, don't like, "All right, I'm sorry." Like you don't do that. That's stupid. But this extreme ownership of when you do something wrong, like Zach said, you've got a few minutes to cry and say, "Oh, that was stupid," but then get over it. We're adults, right? Get over it, move on. There's no point in being anxious and worrying. There's no point in beating yourself up because it's not productive. It's victimhood. To be the victor, you've got to be able to face what's happening and maturely, responsibly, reasonably address it as an adult and keep going forward. Of course, there's nuances. Big things can happen and it's different. But when it comes to just a general sense of I'm making my baby steps forward every single day, when a mistake happens, you gotta let it go. Take ownership of it. Oh, I made a mistake. Here's what I've learned, right? Even when I'm reading, I'll read like 3-4 paragraphs, depending on how long they are. And then I'll stop and then look back and see what I've done and say it out loud. Here's what I learned in that process, the over and over and over again. And that's kind of the daily process that people should go through with trading is, what did I learn today? However small or big it may be, right? So
here's what I learned today, Travis. Do not grill 15 minutes before the podcast. Y'all can hold me accountable to that. So if I ever come on here again and I'm late because I was grilling, you can grill me.
It's a good excuse, I think. So, I'm sorry, I'm late. I was making steak. Like, what a manly reason to be late to the podcast.
And to be fair, who gets to do that? Like on Thursday afternoon, it just feels good, and the weather's beautiful. It was just like, it was good. I enjoyed it. So part of me is not sorry. It's like a sorry, not sorry.
I was at trading, but I shouldn't have been actually. So.
Were you over trading?
Yeah, but it was I was just testing some things from James, and it was because I was editing I was editing a Pod Origins video. I'm like halfway through it, and then I'm like, huh, that's cool. Let me go look at that. And then I got distracted and started looking at.
You're like,
you were over trading?
Yeah.
No.
I was trading outside of my trading
Brian,
plan.
let's give him a quick shame.
Oh, trading outside of your trading plan. Were you on live or were you on demo, Zach?
Live.
You're testing things on live?
It's like it's my throwaway account.
Okay.
It's okay. But
gotcha.
Yeah, still not okay. Still was late, right? So, but anyway, let's not cry over spilled milk. It's not going to happen again. But that is a good way to kind of have grace with yourself, and actually, it is a level of commitment. Like, if you're starting the journey of trading, I promise you, I guarantee you are going to make mistakes. I promise you. And I even guarantee you're going to lose a little bit of real money during the process. Not enough. You'll still be overall profitable if you're following the rules, right? But everyone has a lost day every once in a while. Even James.
I mean, Shane today said that, and the funny thing is James said, we are in buy mode, not taking any of these sells. And Shane's like, I learned my lesson trying to force sells in a buy market today. because it
Yep.
was like he was getting you get the odd indication that the indicators might say one thing, but again, we've got to notice the market behavior and the bigger picture and all of those moving parts. And so that's James is forecasting on the call, letting you know this is what's happening, this is what we're looking for. Boom, boom, boom. Man, people
It
raked it in today on
it
those calls.
blows my mind sometimes, and not to throw Shane under the bus by any means, because it's not just him. I just
No, he
remember
doesn't do
this.
that often. I've
Right.
just been seeing him win after win, and today
Oh yeah.
was his one he had probably a spoof day. So yeah.
For sure, for sure. But I remember there was one of the James calls I was on. He literally called out a price point, right, for the NAS. He said, "Look, when it crosses this price point, that's when you can enter a buy." And I remember sitting there looking at James's chart, right? I was just looking at Zoom, and I had my phone with my broker, and I'm just sitting there waiting for it to cross this line. And it got within 5 pips, but it never actually crossed over at that moment. Right? It was like 5, maybe 3 pips. It was getting kind of close. And I'm like, oh, I'm ready. I'm ready. And all of a sudden in the Zoom chat, I start seeing a bunch of people, I'm in, I'm in, I'm in. And I'm like, why are you in? It didn't cross over. And then guess what it did? You're back the other way. They all got kicked out with their stop loss. And then a couple minutes later, it actually crossed where James said to wait. I hopped in and I got like 30 pips.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's literally it's a matter of just listening and like following and having that discipline of like, okay, if he says it's a buy market, I'm not even I'm not even entertaining sells. I don't care if I miss out. I could have entered on a sell. I don't care. James said it's a buying market. I'm going to buy.
And
Right?
James isn't perfect either,
Right.
right? How many times did he have a non-profitable day last year?
5.
5 times.
Was it 5? Are
And
you sure? I
another,
thought it was like 1 1/4 sort of thing.
No,
Or
it
did he have a
usually
five?
last year was 5.
Oh, he got a fiver last year?
Yeah.
Still.
5 times last year.
Oof.
But it's important to note here
Out
that we're
of
not
365 days and how many trades? Because sometimes he's doing 3, 4, 5 trades a day. So you're talking 5 total
Yeah.
trade. That's insane.
It's
And he
insane.
was talking about today. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, Travis, but I do, and you can keep going once I got this. But like, he was talking today because he's got a pro account, and so like, if you lose on a pro account up to a certain amount, you actually have to pay a broker, right? So certain accounts, let's say you something happens and like you lose like up to half your account or whatever with a normal, like they'll kick it out. They'll stop it. Like the play will stop and your account, like part of your account is saved. That doesn't happen with a pro account. If your pro account like blows for some odd reason, for some stupid reason, then not only do you lose it all, but you have to pay the broker up to $10,000. Like, so there's pros and cons to all of these things because he's got extra awesome things for having a pro account, but then there's the other side of it too. So it's like just crazy to think like that, he's on that level. He's
Yeah.
like fearless of any of those moving parts.
Yeah, not going to happen because the fact of the matter is that he and Prosperity Movement as a whole is a conservative trading system, right? And we had a student come through and on her first 3 sessions, which there's like, including James in our inner circle, there's like 14 something sessions every single week, right? And on the first 3, the beginning of the year, right, we didn't take any trades because the market wasn't producing a signal for us. We only trade when the market is performing, which is normally going to be day by day. But this just so happens that these 3 sessions, we're like, well, I'm not going to go risk any money on these crappy trades, right? And that so the idea of what I'm trying to say is that the conservative approach, it just works. You don't have to trade every single day, right? Or every time you jump into the markets. Again, it's not a job. You don't get paid just because you show up. You get paid for the discipline and the skill set that you develop. And James has that down to a T. He's not perfect, but he's really, really precise, right?
Mhm.
And so that's the idea of teaching our members how to come through and have the discipline to walk away like a legend. Today's
Yeah,
not a day.
Justin.
I'm not going to trade, right?
Yeah.
Justin taught us. Justin was our first trading mentor, and he taught us you don't get paid to trade; you get paid to wait.
Mm-hmm.
That's so true. Absolutely true. It's all about the patience and the discipline, and then you can make bank. Right? As long as you follow the rules, have the discipline, be committed, because you are going to have some challenges. It's part of the game, part of the learning process.
Mm, so good. Awesome.
No more wishy washy. I
No
like.
more wishy washy. So if you don't want to be wishy washy and you want to find consistency in a scenario that has a mutual, what is the, I mean, we've got a 6 month guarantee. What's the point of the guarantee, Travis?
The point of the guarantee,
Yeah.
be able to have you be task oriented instead of worrying. You can be focused on progress, focused on what actually matters. To date, we have not yet given anybody a guarantee. They've not needed it, right?
Well,
And so
we've
the
given
point there,
everybody a guarantee, but we've not
Yeah.
needed to execute
honored
the
the
guarantee.
right,
Yeah. Yeah.
paid it
It
out.
is honored. But the whole point of it is it's a mutual accountability. Right, like that's kind of what I was getting at. But yeah, you so you're saying that you think that it helps keep people focused as well.
It keeps them focused. And here's the fun part about it is that the qualifications to get the guarantee, right? To be protected in the market, which we also protect you on the money invested in the market too, right? Which is cool. But the way to get it is you've got to follow the rules. And we know if you're following the rules because you record your sessions. That's part of our support systems. We get to see exactly what you've done and give you tailored, customized, practical feedback for you, not just for some group or some theoretical process. We get to talk to you directly. So you record your screens, and we know if you're following the rules, and we know if you do follow the rules, it works. So that's the first one. The second one is you got to let us know at least once per week what's going on. Where are you? How are things going? Okay. And if you're on the struggle bus, the last one is you got to ask for support. We're here to help you. If you need some help, we're going to. And if you don't break the rules, you'll let us know where you are. And if where you are needs some help and we help you, we know it's going to transpire in the direction you want it to. So with that being said, the guarantee is an accountability system because if you do what's necessary, we'll show up and do what's necessary, and it's a win-win scenario, right? And when we know that that's the case, it does wonders for being able to get the fear off of the chest and let people focus on task at hand, which is to learn how to crawl, then to learn how to walk, to learn how to run, and to learn how to sprint, right?
So good. Love it. So if you want to start that process of no more wishy-washy, being focused, getting the proper support, having a proper accountability system so that you can be consistent and back engineer your full power and potential so you can ultimately do more of the things you love with the people you love most, just go to prosperitymovement.online, and at the bottom right-hand corner, there's a chat bubble. Just put all of your information in there and then just type wishy-washy and we'll send you no more wishy-washy. Make it
Yeah.
not wishy-washy. Make it no more wishy-washy. And we'll send you the blueprint completely complimentary and we'll get you moving and grooving. And the whole point of the blueprint is to help you do your due diligence so you can find out whether or not Prosperity Movement truly is the best fit for you. And then also to help increase your success. Because at the end of the day, it's not enough to just have a strategy and just like like you, Travis, you always talk about going to the gym. A lot of people will have a workout plan, and for some reason, why is a workout plan just not enough, right? But when you have yourself a really awesome personal trainer and you have a workout plan and you have a proper system, you might read a book called Body for Life by Bill Phillips that's going to help you with the proper mindset, the proper heart set, and all of the moving parts. It's also going to prepare you understanding with some of the struggles that you're going to face and how to overcome them. It's going to prepare you for proper success. So all of that's sitting there for you, and we look forward to seeing you next Thursday.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
And one thing to note too before we sign off here is it is first come first serve basis. We only have a limited number of slots available. Ultimately, what we have to offer you is not some course with some information. It's our time and dedication to making sure we help you specifically customize a way to learn how to trade profitably. Because of that, and because we're only willing to spend so much time per week and per person, we limit the amount of people that we have come through. And right now in 2024, there has been a major shift in the market. Lots of people are trying to flock away from their jobs and prepare for the next few years ahead of us. And so we have been inundated with a list, and we are actually backed up usually between 1 and 2 weeks. So it is quite urgent. If you are at all interested in this, we have some really cool complimentary things for you to go through and get a really good start and foundation with everything. And I just encourage you to jump in as soon as you can if you want to move forward with us, because we are ready to move forward with you.
And on the reality of those numbers, there is actually 350 people. If you're watching this right now, most people, you might be watching this because you come through Facebook and you're trying to dig a little bit deeper. But our Facebook ads right now, we've got about 350 people coming through a week. That's 1,400 people a month. That's just under 17,000 people a year. Okay. Now we were averaging 50 people a week last year.
Mm-hmm.
So we've, what are we sitting at? How many X a week right now?
A lot. I don't know.
A lot. Yeah. I mean,
3,000. What is it?
that's 7 times. We're at 7X. If you look at 7X.
Something happened in the market. I think people are seeing 2024 for what it is. The banks are doing 5% saving account APYs. That's crazy. They want your money staying in there for a reason. And the podcast is not here to fearmonger and do conspiracy theories. We're not going to talk about it, but there's something here. The market's shifting. People are seeing things, and it's just time to rock and roll, get our ducks in a row, get ourselves diversified, and everything will be okay. Right. So.
All right. Chat soon. See you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.